you found a situation that you had a problem with, and you fixed the fucking problem.
I fixed the fucking problem. I built this tool to help you cheat on LeetCode style interviews. I then recorded myself using it to cheat and get an offer at Amazon. I posted the entire video online, and as it was going viral, Amazon saw. They sent a letter to Columbia essentially saying, hey, your kid is cheating on our interviews, expel him or we're never gonna hire from your school again. Columbia saw the letter, they freaked out, and they got in a big spat with me, which ended up in me getting a suspension for a year from school. I was posting everything online. I mean, I was shitting my pants at this time. I burned everything. I burned my career, my education, in hopes that this would go somewhere and that it would be like a society-changing endeavor. And now I got Amazon and Columbia breathing down my neck. My mom doesn't even know, and I'm sitting there tripping. So I think I need this to go viral so that the virality will protect me. So every single confidential document they send me, I put on this I don't give a fuck persona, but internally I'm shitting bricks. And thankfully it does go viral, and I have the support of the public to roll me into the next opportunity, I guess.
And it was quite well received, and it was making pretty decent money very quickly, wasn't it?
Yeah, InterviewCoder did we crossed an $83,000 month in our first 36 days.
Roy Lee, you little troublemaker, what's going on?
Oh, brother, how have you been?
Yeah, really good, man. So happy that we finally made this happen. Ever since I heard your story, I'm like, this is a guy I would have been friends with back
Yeah,
at
I bet,
school.
bro. I bet you look jacked as hell. I bet we would have been friends too, bro.
I'm all right. I'm all right. Nothing special. Just maintain, just go on the regular, and nothing special. But your story just it touched me, man. It made me chuckle so much. You know, uh, you found a situation that you had a problem with, and you fixed the fucking problem.
I fixed the fucking problem. You damn right. Yeah, exactly.
I love that, man. I love that you did that. Look, most of my audience is a Bitcoin audience. That's really the basis of my account. I've got another account that this will be published on as well. That's kind of like tech, finance, global affairs, whatever the hell is happening in the world as well. But like, let's give them a rundown of why exactly I'm interviewing you. So, like, you right now, to give them a bit of a background, you're kind of like the main character in startup world, right? I mean, you might
Wow.
be.
Am I?
You might be a bit too humble to say that, but in terms of what's happened in the last 3 months, like your story has sort of been a sort of a front page story. You know, there's a thing called LeetCode that I had never heard of, but it's kind of the bane of all developers because they typically have to go through a LeetCode interview. Can you tell us a little bit about what that is and why developers hate LeetCode so much?
Yeah, I mean, it's like the modern day equivalent of how many beanbags fit in like the Empire State Building. It's these programmatic riddles that you'll ask developers, and every single big tech company asks these questions, and they're just very silly. But to answer the riddles, you have to study the riddles. So every single big tech engineer that you know, or any engineer who wants to work at a big tech company, has historically in the past spent hundreds of hours rather than building like cool shit like tech that could cure cancer. Instead, they're spending hundreds of hours studying riddles, and this is almost universally disliked by engineers. I also spent about 600 hours studying these riddles. In fact, I was the top 1% globally in all competitive users for LeetCode. So I went through the motherfucking gauntlet, bro, and I did not enjoy it. It made me hate programming. So last semester, I built this tool to help you cheat on LeetCode style interviews. I then recorded myself using it to cheat and get an offer at Amazon. I posted the entire video online, and as it was going viral, Amazon saw. They sent a letter to Columbia essentially saying, hey, your kid is cheating on our interviews, expel him or we're never gonna hire from your school again. Columbia saw the letter, they freaked out, and they got in a big spat with me, which ended up in me getting a suspension for a year from school.
So that's really fascinating because you see two institutions essentially gang up. How old are you? Are you 20 yet?
I'm 21,
You're
actually.
21. So you're 21-year-old, you're making your way through college, and they gang up on you to essentially bully you into submission, and you weren't having it, were you?
Yeah, I was posting everything online. I mean, I was shitting my pants at this time. I burned everything. I burned my career, my education, in hopes that this would go somewhere and that it would be like a society changing endeavor. And now I got Amazon and Columbia breathing down my neck. My mom doesn't even know, and I'm sitting there tripping. So I think I need this to go viral so that the virality will protect me. So every single confidential document they send me, I put on this I don't give a fuck persona, but internally I'm shitting bricks. And thankfully it does go viral, and I have the support of the public to roll me into the next opportunity, I guess.
So just to give people an understanding of how onerous and I guess it's demanding in a sort of very unnecessary way that doesn't people a lot of developers think it doesn't really have anything to do with the way of in filtering a good developer from a bad developer, but it's a really onerous process to go through these LeetCode challenges and these questions. And so your program was basically an interface that was a layer on top of LeetCode, and that would essentially allow them. So whatever the challenge was, you take a screenshot, and an AI would process the answer. That answer would be placed above the LeetCode interface in a sort of translucent way that the person taking the test can essentially just copy and write down exactly the same answer, and thus you were able to essentially hack the Amazon LeetCode process, and you got a job offer. Was it an internship or a job offer?
It was an internship, yeah.
Internship. And it wasn't just Amazon that you did that at. So, it was so you could prove to your community that your tool wasn't a fluke. It wasn't just a one-off.
Right.
Which other companies did you get a role at?
Yeah, it was Meta, TikTok, Capital One. I mean, every single company I tried the tool with to add different bells and whistles to it, I just ended up getting offers from.
I mean, you would think that it would be enough that you got one at Amazon as a proof of concept for, lots of people to try your tool, but to then, replicate the exact same process and success at all these other tech companies that, a lot of young people would die to work at. And then I guess as a proof of concept, that was as strong an evidence set that you could get, right? And so what happened after that? So you've got the first Amazon offer. You've got
Actually,
the letter of offer.
was the last one. I spent the semester in the whole recruiting cycle, like building InterviewCoder and making it work for every interview. I use like Meta, TikTok, Capital One as like proof of concepts and like testing grounds to see that it would work on various different platforms. And it did. And Amazon was sort of like once I had it finished and it was polished and it was ready to be pushed, I had the big Amazon interview. And that's the one that I chose to record and post, but it was actually the last one.
So I'm wondering, like, at some point you were actually applying for roles and wanting to get those roles, right? But then you made your mind up to build this tool and to make that a viable pursuit, I guess. At what made you decide that, okay, these jobs, I don't really want them. I want to make a business out of this cheap code interview thing. Like, what made you decide that? Did you just have a moment where you were just so frustrated and you're like, fuck this, I'm gonna break it all down?
It was, I think the frustration has always been there, and probably my frustration has been like, it's probably the exact same frustration that probably almost a million developers around the world have felt. I think the only difference was that I went to Columbia, I had this notion that I wanted to do startups, and I met my co-founder Neil, and we started hacking on stuff, and eventually we started hacking on so many things, and it was just so fun that I just thought, man, I'm not going to spend the summer interning at some bullshit company. I'm just going to do this with Neil, whether it works or not. And this is just going to be like a way to get us more viral, get more eyes on our different projects. I actually didn't even think InterviewCoder was going to be like my big project. I remember I made a tweet saying this is never going to be a $1 billion company. This is probably not going to be the project that like my final project. This is just something that I started and I can't let it die. And yeah, I don't think it was like I was so frustrated that I had to do it. I felt the same frustration, and it was a lot of frustration, don't get me wrong, but I felt the same frustration as many developers around the world did. I just had, at one point, like a revelation, like I want to be building companies with my co-founder.
So now, you said that you were going to Columbia. You came through, I guess, an unorthodox, an unusual pathway, right? You went through community college. That's something that I did because in high school, I literally did no homework, no work at all, right? Why didn't you go? You're a bright. I've seen your videos. I've seen you attack problems, right? You've got that spark in you that there's an obvious intelligence to it. What was your problem in high school, mate?
Yeah, I mean, high school, my senior year of high school, I actually got accepted early to Harvard's class of 2026, but I got a suspension for sneaking out during a school field trip to see my girlfriend at the time. And the suspension got reported to Harvard, and Harvard ended up rescinding me. So I was like, it was like July, and school was about to start in a month, and I just got like essentially kicked out of Harvard. So after that, I did like a year of self-reflection. For a long time I thought I wasn't going to do the college route. I mean, I was always like getting in trouble in school. So but you know, like Asian parents do what Asian parents will. So they sent me off to community college and sort of like said, okay, you have to at least try to go back to the Ivies. I made it back to Columbia, and then ever since then they've been sort of like free reigns with me.
And I got, because I'm not familiar with the college system or the pathways in the United States. I'm Australian. I live in London. I didn't study here either. I studied back home in Australia. And so, like, if you get an offer rescinded from Harvard, but you've obviously got pretty good results from high school in order to get an offer, right? So why couldn't you just reapply elsewhere later on at a time of your choosing? Like, why wouldn't the pathway allow that?
I actually did. I applied to like 26 schools after that. But there was like a little footnote in my application saying that I got rescinded from Harvard. Obviously, I didn't actually put that in any of the applications. So they read the entire application, and then at the end they say, oh, by the way, this kid got rescinded from Harvard. So I didn't get into any of the 26 schools that I applied to, including like local, like smaller schools too.
And so
So
why would Columbia like overlook that simply because you went to community college? Did you get good grades there? Did you sort of prove yourself, or what happened? Why did that change anything?
for the Columbia transfer application, they don't use the Common App at all. They use something called Coalition App. So it's like the one school where you actually can't put like a footnote in. Um, and I guess either they didn't have the information or they had the information on file and just decided this guy went to community college and learned his lesson or whatever. I don't know. For whatever reason, they decided to take me. I don't actually know what made them change their mind.
So that's a pretty good break. So all right, so you weren't a complete dropkick like I was in high school. Like you actually had good enough results to get into Harvard, for example, right? Whereas
Yeah, I
I,
mean,
I was kind of like bottom 10% of my state because I literally didn't do any work. I just didn't do the work. So it's like, yeah, and I had really good teachers who tried to pull me up all the way through year 10, year 11, year 12, and like, man, you better get your act together. And I just never did until I finished high school, and then I'm like, I think they're right. I think I better get my act together, and luckily I kind of did. But man, that's really interesting to see that one institution rescinds an offer and they all sort of, again, they just all gang up on you and say, well, if they're not going to accept you, we're not going to accept you. It's almost like social exclusion, like systematic social exclusion. You're like, hey, I'm a smart guy. I'm better than most of the students that you have there.
yeah, I mean, I'm generally pretty anti-establishment about most things, and I think it's just a recurring trend. Very rarely will a big company or a big institution sort of fight for like something that they actually believe in. Usually, it's just I don't know. Like this is like usually even society does this. Like I was never really I really did not like the whole cancel culture stuff, and I think this just plays out at every level in society. But I think it's better just to be a free thinker and independent.
Yeah, but then you wanted to go and be a finance bro, right? Didn't you want to go to Wall Street?
Back in high school, yeah,
Oh, okay.
I didn't actually like to program that much in high school. I wasn't super interested in technology. I don't know for whatever reason. Like in third grade, I just had a bad experience with the computer, and I thought for like many years I'm just not going to be a tech bro. But I did know I like to party and I like to talk to people, and I was pretty smart. And generally, that combination of things gets you pretty far on Wall Street. So I just figured like. Might as well make a bunch of money, do a bunch of hookers and cocaine, and just live out my 20s. But as soon as I started coding during my year off, man, it's just like something in my genetics just came alive, like the Asian inside me, just like this is what you were meant to do is code. So
You
I,
didn't want to study and become someone's quant?
I could have, bro. I could have. I did competitive math when I was younger. Like that was an avenue for me.
Yeah. Now I can imagine. Like, well, that's really interesting because you seem to have an aptitude for the technical subjects, and so as a result of that, I imagine you did have a pathway that was quite open to you into sort of the institutions, the tech institutions, the Wall Street institutions at somewhere, but you kind of eschewed that. You said, no, that's not really for me. I want to do things my own way. I love that. I absolutely love that you built this thing because you saw a problem that was really annoying a lot of people, but especially you, and you built it essentially because it annoyed you mostly, right? And then you just saw the business opportunity after that. So I love that you've been able to identify a problem and you just go, I'm not having it. I'm gonna I'm gonna fix it. And there's a video of you. When I said you, there's a spark of intelligence about you. I watched a video that you posted when you're going through a demo of your product, and like, this guy's diving into every last detail about how it works, and you could just see how deeply you thought about the problem itself, because every little feature you can see that you understood it perfectly and the reasons why you've actually built that. And you're like, okay, this guy knows what he's doing. He's solved the problem top to bottom, inside out. He knows it all. And so, like, one of the things that has caught my attention about you is you really understand virality as well. Is that something that you've just recently discovered? And
I think I've always had a penchant for drawing attention to me, both good and bad. I mean, I didn't think that it would really translate online, but like believe me, my online persona is about as one to one as you get to who I am in real life as possible. Really, I just tweet my thoughts. I think there's some like components of virality that I've learned, especially on Twitter, that I've been able to crack. But yeah, I mean, this is all very new to me. Like 3 months ago, I had like 1,000 followers across all socials, and I was not really active online at all. And then I just started tweeting my thoughts and tweeting the stuff I was doing, and all of a sudden, I'm scratching the surface of 100K.
yeah, that's I had a very similar thing in the first month that I started this account. It was essentially, I don't know if you were following any of the crypto stuff 4 years ago, but it was just at the start of the parabolic boom, and I'm like, man, I just got 150,000 followers in my first month. What the hell, right? Because it's quite overwhelming. But I actually had the luxury. I mean, I'm quite a lot older than you, but I also had the luxury of being anonymous. I've only really just come out of the shadows in the last 2 weeks, right? So I've had 4 years to get used to this. And like, what's it been like for you to get accustomed to being the center of at least startup attention? Maybe not everyone when you walk down the street recognizes you, but in San Francisco they might, right?
Yeah, I mean, we just came. We just settled in. We moved here like 5 days ago from New York. Back in New York, no, but I never ever got recognized in New York. So I mean, even in San Francisco, I really don't leave the office for much. I left one time yesterday to get my teeth cleaned at the dentist, and I got recognized by some Berkeley students. But I really haven't felt it, and I don't see myself really on my own timeline. So I don't actually know how dominant I've been on everyone else's, if I have been. So it hasn't actually registered to me that I am the main character of the startup world.
So one of the ways that I try to maintain perspective is in an interview, I try to just stay. I don't know how to describe this, but just in my own head, what would I say if I was just in a coffee shop to this guy? Like if we were having a chat, what would I be talking to you about? What would I be saying? And that way I just stay true to my own instincts. How do you deal with it? If someone, so I haven't had people approach me on the street, thankfully, yet, but I imagine you have. And so like, how are you dealing with the interruptions to your day-to-day moments? Like I would be quite taken aback if I'm having a coffee and someone just started approaching me and wanting to talk about Bitcoin, or hey Archie, what's going on? I'm like, it's quite that would be still a novel thing to me. But in San Francisco, for you, I guess, how did you when that first happened? How did you deal with that, and like how have you come to think of it in order to be able to deal with it and process it as a part of your life?
I guess it's pretty cool. I mean, my ultimate life ambition and my guiding North Star is I want to be respected by every engineer in the world. So like getting publicity is like a natural extension of that. Like I would like the world to recognize me as like a Steve Jobs character or like a Zuckerberg character. Specifically, I would like engineers to think, man, this guy did some cool shit. And this is something that I've wanted. So I mean, like like this is something that's happening. I really have never wanted to like live like a quiet private life or anything. Like I'm very open and down to just do like crazy shit and show it to the world and have everyone react. I love people reacting to me. I love the controversy. I think Musk does it right, and if I do it right, then the world will see me the way they see Musk.
So what do you mean by Musk does it right? What appeals to you about the way he does it?
Thing is, every single person in the world has an opinion about Elon, whether it's strongly positive or strongly negative. Everyone's got some shit to say about him, and I just think it's like the coolest thing. Like, he is like the person in the center of all the controversy, and just appeals to me. I think that's cool as fuck.
Yeah, it's been a really powerful marketing tactic for all of his businesses. Like I imagine he hardly spends, I mean, Tesla hardly spends anything on marketing. I don't know that I've ever seen a significant Tesla marketing campaign because it's kind of Elon is the marketing campaign,
That's what
isn't
I'm
he?
saying. Exactly.
Yeah.
He is the public face of Tesla.
Yeah, for good and for bad, but for mostly good, right? It's many hundreds of billions of dollars in market cap, so I guess it kind of works, doesn't it? But
Yeah, I wouldn't complain if Cluey got to that size either.
so okay, the transition from I want to get into university. I got into university. I want to get in an internship to a tech company. I hate the bloody process. I built this tool. Maybe I can make this tool into a business that I won't need a job. And then you got quite a few customers pretty quickly, right? So it was an obvious. No, it was a problem that was sort of felt right across the developer community, and in terms of the feeling against these LeetCode style tests, it was quite a universal thing that most people hated them. And so you developed a tool that solved that. And it was quite well received. And it was making pretty decent money very quickly, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah. InterviewCoder did like we crossed an $83,000 month in our first 36 days.
That's incredible. And so from that point now, what are you doing? You've sort of parlayed the technology in that to do what? What's Cluely?
Yeah, I mean, interview code, like, I spent the entire semester, like, genuinely autistically trying to think about how can I make this undetectable? How can I make this seamless? We added like gaze tracking. We added like click-through functionalities. There's so many things that I thought about, and I was thinking about like making the ultimate like interview cheating tool. But at one point, we sort of sat back, looked at this tool, and realized, holy shit, this is a user experience that nobody's ever come up with before. There's never been another application that is like this translucent screen overlay that feeds you answers in real time. Primarily because nobody's like LLMs haven't existed before and nobody's cracked this. And we just think like the potential to use AI and have other people not be able to know that you're using AI, or even just to use AI in a really frictionless way. I mean, InterviewCoder and Cluey themselves, like they don't actually like you don't actually prompt them. You just give them the screen context and the audio context, and it sort of just uses AI to interpret what you're going to need. And I mean, you can imagine like once models get really smart, like 5 years down the line, you're never going to need to prompt. The model knows everything about you and everything you've done for the past 10 years. Like, why would you ever need to prompt when it just can predict what you're going to need? And we really hope that this is the end state of how people interact with AI. Everyone's sort of working on this AI that hears what you hear, sees what you see, and can help you. I think a lot of people are tackling it in the form of a wearable. But I mean, we just like InterviewCoder has shown us that there's a really good UX that where this could work, and it could just work on your desktop where everyone already spends 8 hours a day. You don't need
It's
7
like an
billion.
application layer on that's powered by whatever AI model that you choose. I guess it could be anything really, right? It could be the open AI, it could be Gemini, it could be Claude, whatever. It could be anything, right? Wow. And in terms of its applications, are you sort of directing Cluely towards a direction for its application? Like, do you have particular use cases that you think will take off immediately?
Yeah. So we are ultimate like we like to call ourselves a distribution first company, meaning Cluey itself is we hope that in a few short years everyone in the world will be able to use Cluey, but sort of you have to plant first somewhere before you expand. And we're not exactly sure where we're going to plant right now. We're exploring the ideas of like meetings, having it use like an AI note taker. We're exploring the idea of sales calls. This could be a really good tool for enterprise sales. We're also exploring the idea of just using this as like a general, instead of ChatGPT, you'll just use this. But we want to see where we have idea market fit in first, meaning there is a content or a use case where of this tool that we can make consistently go viral. And whatever the use case we can make consistently go the most viral, that's the use case that we're going to triple down on, because that's what worked for InterviewCoder. Like InterviewCoder was built under the assumption that if I build this, it will go viral. But now we have a tool, and now we can just go viral first, and then build the tool for whatever went viral. So that's the thesis behind
Yeah,
the company.
that is really interesting because it's essentially what I've done with this, right? I've built the following and the brand before the business, whereas typically what you would do, prior to social media, it wasn't possible to do that. You'd have to build a business, you'd have to spend a lot of money on marketing or operate for many, many years and build word of mouth, brand and reputation. And then, you have a brand of standing. Whereas it's been quite the opposite with me and you also, where well, you've built a business almost concurrently with your brand, right? It's sort of gone hand in hand. You've been monetizing, converting the virality into paying customers, which is amazing. I didn't do that for pretty much 4 years. I've just built the brand and the following, and now I'm starting to build out sort of the commercial channels and whatnot. And it's a really powerful model that you can do, because a lot of startups don't fail because they're technically bad products. They can't get distribution, they can't get mind share.
I agree. I
I
think
mean, it's not the only reason for sure, but it's one of the major reasons is they'll build something nice and they just don't know how to get it in front of enough people in time.
correct.
How did you develop a sense for that? I know you're kind of extroverted, and you said
Yeah.
that you've always sort of courted a little bit of attention. But do you have a model in your mind for for generating virality? Have you
Yeah.
been able to think about that in a structured way?
I think there's like a few things that I think before I tweet. And I think the first thing is like the most important, and most tech companies get this wrong, but everyone in the world, if they read your tweet, they should be able to understand what exactly you're saying. Or at the very least, like get the idea of what you're saying. I think like most companies will tweet like this long shit, and it's like, bro, what are you talking about? Like I'm a tech guy. I don't even know what the fuck sort of research paper you just dumped on my timeline. And it won't go viral if most people don't understand what you're trying to say. I think that's so. I spend a lot of time like working with GPT. Like every single tweet I come up with, I throw the idea into GPT, and then I ask it to like dumb it down, simplify this, and shorten it. Um,
Do you literally use those words?
yeah. I mean,
Do you use those words in your prompt? Yeah, to
yeah,
simplify it?
simplify this and make it as short as possible, and then I see what it comes up with, and then I do some tweaks on my own. But like generally, your tweet has to be simple, and it has to be like mass understandable. Uh,
Do you ever find that AI models lose the essence of a message when you ask it to do that?
Yeah, like you should never ever, almost never tweet what GPT gives you, because it's not gonna be funny. Like but there would be like one phrase in there that is like just like a succinct explanation of what you're trying to say. For example, like if I came up with like an invisible screen overlay desktop assistant that is downloadable and available for Mac and Windows, then it would probably like distill it down into like cross-platform invisible desktop app, and that would be like a succinct thing. But I wouldn't ever like use the entire content of the message, primarily because part two of I think Twitter virality is like every single thing in your or every single one of your tweets, there needs to be like a very controversial, like a what the fuck component. um and I think you'll see, like if you scroll through my timeline, then you'll see that there's always like a catch to every one of my tweets. Like if it's interns, it's like I'm hiring 50 interns, or if it's Cluee launched, then it'd be like Cluee cheat on everything. And I always try to add like a little controversial tweak to it.
So I'm glad you reminded me of that. So in our DMs, I asked you if you got the 50 interns from the 100 men versus a gorilla idea. The meme that went viral. Would
Yeah.
100 men beat a gorilla? And did you just sort of have a problem and you thought, let's just throw 50 interns at it or something? Like, how did you come across? How did you come up with that idea? And what do you expect to achieve out of that? The 50 interns.
Yeah, I think most people don't understand that social media and virality right now is entirely different game than it was even 3 years ago. Right now, the best thing is not to have like Charlie D'Amelio or some other big 100 million follower influencer show your product. Instead, what you want is a bunch of like warmed up accounts with like 20-year-olds or like people who understand virality just looking at the camera and talking. Like there's a extreme delta in just having a bunch of young kids who understand virality and scroll advertise your product without having any sort of followings at all. I mean, like this is what the TikTok and Instagram algorithm rewards, and there's such a mass shortage of people who will actually do of this content of like people who are actually like talking to the camera about interesting things. There's an extremely mass shortage of them, and I feel like no company's tapped into this. If we're right, if we're
So,
right,
so, so you advertise for 50 interns and 10,000 young people talk about your product.
I mean, yeah. Like this is also a marketing stunt in and of itself. But if it, when we do have these 50 interns, I mean, we're gonna have 50 young people who understand virality shilling our product every fucking day. Like we're gonna Andrew Tate ourselves into dominating every timeline everywhere. Like there's no better top of funnel.
And you are paying them.
Yeah, fifty
Yeah,
dollars an
which is
hour.
and paying them quite well. I think I can't remember. Was it 50 an hour you said or something like
Yeah,
that?
50,
I mean
50
that's
interns, 50 an hour.
that's an I mean I don't know what startup internships are like or tech internships are like, but I see a lot of people in the media space basically having to intern for free, and essentially the only people who can do that are those who have really wealthy parents who could bankroll them. I know in London the media landscape is dominated by people who do have such parents, and so it locks out a whole generation of people who don't have parents who could do that. So it's really good that you're also paying them. Um, and so how's that going as a viral marketing campaign?
We're uh we're spending a lot of time every day talking to young kids or like like of age young kids just to see if they would intern. Uh, we're 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 finding a lot of things. This is our first time doing like a proper recruiting hiring pipeline, and we're finding a lot of things. It's actually very hard to filter out. Resumes actually don't matter at all. You need to actually like sit down with the person and try to like prod them with a few jokes to see if they have like humor and like innate viral sense.
Yeah.
Um,
So
yeah,
tell me why you found resumes to not matter at all. Because I mean, I've been in the job market for more than 20 years, and I've often thought like, there's no way you can tell the quality of who I am through any kind of resume that I send through. You just can't do that. And yet the entire process of recruitment is geared towards not only a dehumanizing sort of process that's all automated and now even AI process now. So a person doesn't even look at your CV until it passes through who knows how many filters. But what has been your experience and the disconnect you found between the quality of a resume and the quality of a candidate, and why can't paper ever capture that?
I guess for us specifically, we hire for two separate roles. You're either doing growth and we're testing, are you funny? Or you're doing engineering and we're testing, are you really good at coding? And I think both of like I would rather have a smart kid who codes on their. For example, our first founding engineer hire, his resume is entirely blank, but I can confidently say he's one of the best programmers of our generation. I met this guy at community college. He didn't even think that he could do an internship, but he loves programming. And if you look at the actual things he's built, like it's insane how technically, like this guy is really really good. But like his resume is completely fucking blank, and he goes to community college. Like he would never get picked up, and you just would not be able to tell that he's an engineering generational talent if you did not sit down and talk with him. Um,
What was it about the conversation with him that convinced you of that?
Well, actually, for him, like I TA'd his class, and I TA'd his class, but in reality, I would every Friday I would go, and he would come and like fucking teach me how to program because this guy was just that good. So I knew from the past that he was like a truly generational programming talent, um, but just the resume you can't tell, and right now that's like one of our biggest challenges is holy shit, how do we find these like community college gemstones that are like diamonds in the rough, like resumes are impossible. I found that just like a very quick conversation, you can sort of screen out most things. Um, and we
Would,
haven't
would
ran.
you would you call back someone who just would you call back on a resume that just didn't look that good just to see, just to validate? Because sometimes people who are talented in that way that you said aren't very good at composing resumes, for example.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. Wait, we don't even like look at the resume at all. I think it's like a required field, but it's only a required field because like I want to make sure that you're not insane and you actually have a resume. But we don't even look at them. We
So what
look at
makes you pick up the phone and call them then?
yeah,
Because I imagine you'd have thousands of apps, right?
there's two things we look at. At the bottom of the app, it says like, hey, if you're like actually interested, you should email us at hello@cluee.com. And if there's no email, then you're probably not getting a call back. But we also have like a 50 short word response that is essentially like, why should we hire you? And this is like supposed to be open ended. If you have a creative answer, then we might like give you a ring. But also like if you don't email us, then you didn't fucking read the job description, so we don't want you.
So that's just you're filtering primarily for intent, purpose, and diligence, right? Did this
Yeah.
person actually just go through, or do they really want it? Because number one thing is if they are motivated, if they really want something, you're going to be so locked into that application process to make sure that you get all the details necessary. Like you're not just going to be casually browsing through to submit an application, right? And so I guess that's a really strong filter. Um, how many people have you hired so far?
Two.
Yeah. Out of how
Very
many?
hard.
Out of how many?
Going on 10,000 now.
Wow.
Well, yeah, this is just off our recruiting pipeline alone, but we think this is like it's very hard to find good quality talent there. And in the calls, like we've done, gosh, I want to say like close to 100 calls, and it's very hard to find people who just check the right boxes. We're starting to do outbound to like reach out to people that we know or like have seen on our feed and like just know that these guys are good. But there is a huge shortage of talent.
So 10,000 inbound, 100 calls, 2 hires.
So far, yes. But there's a lot of people on the short list, though. There's two for sure hires, but there's about 10 people we've talked to who we think we like a lot.
Your process is not complete. But I mean, the quality of the hires for those 2, you're absolutely convinced that they'll be good long-term partners for you?
Yeah, I mean these guys are killers. Yeah, like probably worth $500,000 in enterprise value just like starting off.
Yeah. So you're going to start them off as interns, or are you just going to bring them onto the book straight away and let's get going?
It depends on what they're down for. Right now, they're both onboarded as interns, but like if we can get them full time, then we want them full time immediately. Like I'd sign off on that. Like
So what are they doing? Like, given your story of being kicked out of college and everything, are they still aspiring to go to college? So is I've often wondered, like, for the longest time, unless you want to go and work for a large company, you really don't actually need to go to college to acquire the information that you need. And no industry more than, you know, the tech industry, where you can essentially just learn anything you want off the internet and go and build it and test it in a marketplace. There's literally nothing stopping you from doing that. So I wondered why there continues to be such a strong demand for computer science degrees when you can literally just learn everything online and just go off and build it.
I have no idea. I think even the CS degree doesn't teach you much. In fact, like one of the two hires, he's literally 17. He's in high school right now, and he just got kicked out of high school, and he's like taking classes at a local community college. But I mean, this guy is not going to college. He doesn't need college, and I feel the CS degree like it teaches you a lot of theory. It doesn't actually teach you how to engineer things. I don't blame them either because CS like programming every year the standards change and professors who are like 40, 50, they've lost their brain plasticity. They can't fucking keep up with it anymore. And the best person in the world for some programming niche is probably some 19-year-old autistic kid from the Bay Area. So yeah, I think CS degrees are pretty useless by and large. And the best programmers are people who program. And it's very hard to find people who just love to program.
And so is that a recognition amongst your generation that's growing? Or do people still aspire to get the degree because that's going to help them get into a Google or a Meta or whatever it might be?
My gut is telling me that more people are like turning away from college and realizing that you can just kind of do things without college. I think like statistically, it's proven that there's like more dropouts now than ever and stuff. Uh, and like companies are being built by people who are younger and younger. I think AI has become such like a leverage unlock that people are realizing like I don't actually have to have 10 years of industry experience to just build this thing. Um, but also I wasn't around for college 5 years ago, so I don't actually know what the culture would have been like back then. I just know that right now it seems like the prestige of a big tech company is not as prestigious as it was back then. More people are interested in startups, and I'm pretty sure more people are interested in dropping out.
Yeah, because they're all rather mature companies now. Like, I don't imagine that Facebook doesn't really quite hold the same level of excitement as in 2006, 7 till about 10, 11, 12 even, right?
Right.
So maybe you're working on exciting things in the background, but if you're working on Facebook or Instagram, what are you working on? Like, which part of which widget on which page are you working
That's
on?
what I'm saying, bro.
That's all you're optimizing, right? Compared to like working with someone like you on an open-ended problem with, you know, especially with AI now, sort of just blowing open what's possible. It's like a whole new field of commercialization is opening up, just waiting for people like you to take advantage of it with just a new vision. So I'm like, I guess the question in my mind is like, are people your age still holding on to the potential security of a long tenure at a large tech company, or are they excited and willing to take the leap and say, let's give this a go?
I think generally, even like last year or like this year, more and more people are realizing that. In fact, like all of my Columbia friends who are headed to Google have the sentiment that I don't actually think I should be at Google. I'm not going to learn anything here. Technology is changing and evolving so fast. I need to be somewhere earlier. And I think half of them are probably going to end up rejecting their Google offer to go like either do something on their own or build something at a company that's much earlier stage.
Do they have any understanding of how to do that? Like how to actually start something of their own? And
I
by
think
that, I don't mean like necessarily to build a tool, but do they understand how to manage the risk of commercialization and validating product market fit and all that sort of stuff?
I think this is probably the leap of faith that I like. I'm gonna speak directly from my experience. I mean, I was really worried because when we launched InterviewCoder, we did not think that it was a commercializable product. In fact, until very late, when someone told me you should probably just slap a paywall on it, I didn't realize like people should pay for this. I mean, I made this as like a sign of protest and like oh everyone should use this and like fuck LeetCode. But I didn't actually realize that I could even sell this thing, and I didn't build it to be sellable. I think everyone says like big companies start as side projects, but I don't think it didn't register for me, certainly, that InterviewCoder could even become a business later. And I don't think it registers for most people that just like the project that they're hacking on. Like, there's not a gigantic gap between industry code and the code that you're writing in your dorm. Um, just ship it and try to sell it. But I think it's because like most people don't have the realization that that it's possible to make your first internet dollar doing something. But yeah. I mean, I just remember for me, like it felt like such a far leap. I thought I was gonna be I truly thought I was going to leverage the hype of InterviewCoder to raise some money, and then with that money, I would have like 2 years to code something that would actually make me money. That's what I was thinking, which I think was just flawed. But it's just I never made money on the internet before. I didn't realize that it was possible, and I certainly didn't realize it was possible with the slop that was InterviewCoder.
Man, talk about making money! Like you went you did 86,000 within 36 days. Well, that was your monthly run rate within 36 days. That's an incredible launch, especially for something that you didn't really know could have a monetizable future. Is that still a business? Can people still use that tool?
InterviewCoder?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's still up and running, and it's doing about well like
You don't have
monthly.
to tell me, but yeah, I mean, I imagine it would be doing multiples of that, right? As a result of
Yeah, a couple multiples. Yeah.
that's really good. And so, did you even need to raise capital for to start Cluely? Could you have been a little more patient, or what was your thinking behind doing that?
Yeah, I mean, there's only two scenarios down the line is what I mean, like at the time I knew I was hot on tech Twitter. I knew like the VCs and GPs in Silicon Valley were talking about me. So I figured if you're everyone says you should raise when you don't have to raise and you should just raise a bunch when you can. So I figured like food is on the table, I might as well eat. If this goes really well, then it won't matter that I diluted an extra few percentages. And if it goes really bad, then I won't have this opportunity to raise again in the future. And I also think for me specifically, I mean, I'm not a big fan of like being patient, bootstrapping, and maybe like we'll make like 10 mil in profit one day. I don't actually care that much about the money. I care about building something generational. And I think if given $5 million, I can very intelligently spend $5 million doing shit like hiring 50 interns and doing a bunch of like viral stunts.
Yeah, I mean, for people who don't understand what you're doing and some of your commercial metrics and how well you're converting, hiring 50 interns might seem a little bit wasteful, but there's actually a method to the madness because you are already cash flow positive, right? You're already generating cash flow. So this is not like your typical startup where there's a long lead time before commercialization. You've got a product in the market that people are willingly, happily paying for, and you're cash flow positive. You've also raised a bunch of money from venture capital, and now you're doing things the way you want to. You have the luxury of being able to execute your strategy in a way that doesn't mean, if it doesn't quite land, it doesn't mean that your business is in jeopardy. You've got plenty of runway to do a whole bunch of new things and iterate on the ideas that you have, which is a fantastic luxury to have, isn't it? Because it's usually like VCs have your nose to the grindstone, and like the moment things aren't quite on target, if you want to raise, they're going to sort of get their pound of flesh from you, aren't they?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, this is I feel like this is just such a different business model. Like we've been profitable since day one, so this is just money to sort of like see how much more profitable we can get. I feel like there's
I
very
feel like you've got the best of both worlds in that regard because you've got cash flow, and you've got VC backing as well. Can we talk about venture capital backing for a second? Um, Now, venture capitalists tend to have a history, not a history, but a reputation of being kind of like sharks, right? When they see the hot new thing sort of on the scene, and they come circling. Whereas when you really need them, they smell blood. They really push for a hard deal. Right? I mean, they're well known for doing that, right? In the sense that that's their business model. So, like, how did you? I don't want to keep coming back to how young you are because I find you really quite impressive as well. You have your wits about you, but like, how 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 did you assess the people who were approaching you and the offers that they were making? Did you have any kind of guidance and mentorship in that regard, or how did you deal with that?
Yeah, I mean, I spent last summer at this startup, Nucleus Genomics, and the founder there, like Keon, he had like a very similar background to me. He dropped out of UPenn at 20 years old, and he did this like $20 million seed round. So he was like the guy to talk to. So I spent a lot of time with him, and I like our very first angel investor, Corey Levy. He's my favorite investor. I love him, and like he helped a lot with the round, and he was just a good sounding board for
What
like
was
all
your
the
relationship like with him before? Did you know him before to have that level of trust in him, or did he just you built that upon the approach?
Corey was he was also Keon's first angel investor. So I spent the summer at Nucleus Genomics, and this was like a super like seed stage startup at the time. They just did a Series A, but I talked with Keon a lot, and I told him a bunch that I was interested in doing startups, and he mentions that how he got his in was like this program called Z Fellows, and it's through this guy Corey Levy. So as soon as I decided like InterviewCoder was going somewhere, I immediately applied to Z Fellows and started talking to Corey Levy. And I try and I guess I emulate Keon's track into the valley. Um, Corey gives us a small check. We do the Z Fellows batch, and when InterviewCoder takes off, we start the raise. And the exact same way Keon did, we use Corey as a sounding board, and we help him like have how structure the raise and figure out like what the fuck valuations are, what is a safe, like all the ins and outs of fundraising.
So Z Fellows, I looked that up. I think I came across that through one of your interviews. I'd never heard of it before, but it's some very prominent people in Silicon Valley behind that, and which is it's essentially like a fast money check. If 10 grand for anybody who has sort of an idea, and we'll sort out the valuation. How do they do that later on? Is it when you finalize your first round and they just sort of jump onto that at the same level of valuation?
Yeah, yeah,
How does
yeah.
that work? Is that how it works? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. They give you the 10K at like $1 billion valuation, which is a joke valuation. But yeah, yeah. Like it actually converts at the price that you raise at.
Oh, that's pretty cool. And so you got 5 million. So you're a 21-year-old with 5 million. 2 months ago, you were struggling to stay in university. I mean, it's quite a whirlwind, right? But did you feel like actually this is the direction that just feels right for me?
I remember I did like a long brain dump on Twitter, and I always go back to that to like remind me of where my headspace was at 2 months ago. But I think at every point I sort of had this inclination of like this is what is right to do. Like InterviewCoder, I was when I was having Columbia and Amazon breathing down my neck, and it was just not that profitable at the time. Like I was very it was a nerve wracking state to be in, but I just had this gut feeling that InterviewCoder and pushing on InterviewCoder was the correct thing to do. And I just sort of I kept on following my gut feeling, and now I'm almost completely reliant on this like voice inside my head, like this gut that just tells me like you should do this. It's what made me decide, okay, fuck it, 50 interns. It's what made me decide, fuck it, let's do a 5 mil pre-seed.
So the actual act of burning the boats, burning the bridges, so to speak, was the fuel of virality that powered your business to viability, right? If you didn't do that with Amazon, so sharing sharing the Amazon offer in public as proof that InterviewCoder works was effectively burning the bridges, right? There was no going back. And that was the fuel that led to the virality and the notoriety, and effectively Amazon reaching out to Columbia to say, hey, you've got to kick this guy out. It's still, I mean, as much as I would, of course, I would expect 2 institutions to do that, right? It still stuns me that they would not counsel a 21-year-old and say, hey, this is really not on. This is not the sort of behavior we expect of someone coming to our university, better conduct, blah, 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 that they would just seek punitively just to punish you. And, you know, like anyone who didn't have the character that you did would probably crumble under that pressure, because getting to the point that you did is a lifelong aspiration for a lot of people. You know, I kind of felt the same way. I got into a bank's graduate program. You know, it's just commercial bank, no big deal. But when I graduated from university finally, and I got there and was like, man, this is where I always wanted to be. And it was just such a disappointing thing. But if I had that offer and then it was rescinded for some reason, and I never got to see how disappointing that environment was, I would have been absolutely shattered, right? Whereas you took that and you thought, well, actually, this is probably this feels like a more natural life path for me to go off and just get kicked out and start something out. But there had to be, I wonder, because you are Asian, and you know, I don't want to avoid racial stereotypes, but I imagine that you have, your parents would have guided you towards a certain level of achievement in university as well. And so essentially you've turned your back on that. Was there a moment of trepidation in sharing that with them?
I think the Amazon stuff, I had no qualms about getting rid of the Amazon stuff. I mean, even for like, even if I wanted just to do the most prestigious thing and like that, like still Amazon is not really like, I don't really think I sacrificed much to do Amazon. My parents would have been much more disappointed if I threw away like a Jane Street offer to do this, which in essence I probably did. Like I doubt I'm ever gonna get a job at Jane Street now. But yeah, like
I hope you never do. I hope you never do. I hope you never set
I
foot in
definitely
any
never will.
trading shop or anything like that. You've got too much of a spark to waste it on that shit. You need to be doing your own ideas, man. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I want to see, like, you know, like, what else has this guy got? Like, what's the next? You know, I mean, I want you to
Yeah,
feel
yeah,
good.
yeah. There's no way
I'm,
I'd ever at this point.
I'm
But like
genuinely so excited for you, you know, like to with this startup, and I'm like, yeah, I think more kids should be doing this, like more, because there's never been a time where people have been more empowered at a younger age, really, to build something and just completely demolish an entire industry. And I like to see people take on that challenge. Yeah, I wish I did at an earlier age, but you know, you follow the path that you lead, and so be it. Where were we? What were we talking about? I've
we're
lost
talking
my
about,
train.
like I was gonna say like the parent stuff.
Oh yeah, that's right.
They had no idea until about any of this until I actually did get kicked out of Columbia, and at that point, InterviewCoder was doing like very well. So I told them like, hey, I just got kicked out of school, but also I'm making like $250,000 a month.
So
So
yeah, I was going to say. So you go to your parents and you say, "Good news, bad news. Which one? Which one do you want first?" So how did you tell them? I'm fascinated by that.
They actually saw me on the news, and then they're like, "Roy, what the fuck is this InterviewCoder tool? Like, are you cheating? Like, what is going on here?" And I explained to them like the situation, and they were like, they were just pretty silent for the whole time. And then I said I got kicked out of school, and then they were like the gasp, and I'm like, "Oh my God, what the fuck?" And then like after that, I just told them, like I showed them the stripe graph, and then I was like, "Yeah, look, I'm gonna be fine." And then they were like, "You know what? You've lived an interesting life, like a pretty unconventional life since like the whole Harvard stuff. So we actually trust you completely on this." And they're actually super, super supportive. Uh, and they also knew like I told them many times I'm probably gonna drop out. I'm probably not gonna graduate. Like I just need to be doing my own thing right now.
That's fantastic. It's really nice to hear because quite often, a lot of parents are obviously, as you can understand, they're fully invested in their children following particular pathways, particularly pathways that I guess we have the notion that they sort of confer some level of stability and predictability into the future, and they want you to do well, and it could easily be perceived as being sort of a misstep as such because you're stepping off the path of prestige in one way. Startups are a different kind of prestige as well, but it's also an unknown, isn't it? Like most startups, they fail. Let's be honest. Even after early promise, they can fail very quickly just through a few missteps or something that doesn't quite align for whatever reason. Success has an infinite number of variables, and we can't really anticipate and plan for all of them. So you never know what's going to trip you up if you do get tripped up. So that's why success is such a joyful experience to cherish as well. Um, so what's next for you guys at Cluely? Like you've got the 50 interns coming on board, right? They're going to tackle the gorilla challenge of commercialization and engineering. What are you building out there that's going to be an expansion of what you're doing now?
Right now, there's like a lot of we just pushed out like we spent like 10 days to I think it was actually like 12 days engineering like a shitty version of Cluey that we just shipped out with a launch video as soon as possible. And with that, like there were so many bugs, and right now there's still like a backlog of bugs that we're like the two engineers are working on. We have a custom audio engine that we just built out to transcribe audio in real time.
I saw you reach out on Twitter about that.
Yeah,
You're having some challenges in that regard. What
yeah,
was the
yeah.
problem?
I posted like a $15,000 bounty. I mean, if you're building a desktop application and you want to access like not just your microphone audio, but the audio of everything that's coming out of your computer, you usually need like a separate sort of driver. But we wanted one in house. We knew that it was possible because other applications have it. So we just posted like $15,000 for whoever can build us this like custom native driver. But we actually ended up figuring this out internally. We did an all nighter, and my CTO just put it together and shipped it like the morning of. So that was that's something interesting that we've done. But also there's just like a lot of Eng backlogs. Like we need to add like an onboarding, like a more defined help center. I have it on the board right here. We want dashboards. Like we would love for this to completely take over every AI note taker. You would be using Cluely instead of Fireflies, Otter, or even Granola. This would just like summarize all of your calls at the end of it and just work like that. We'd love to. We're working on prompts a little bit more, and there's a lot of integrations that we're building out. So there's just a lot of Eng backlogs.
So essentially, it's kind of like a media ingestion engine that then does a bunch of things through an agent. Are you building an agent yourself, or are you going to use other agents,
Yeah,
other
yeah.
platforms for your agent? So how are you going to do that?
Like the agentic workflows. We're
Sorry,
probably going, or the specific agentic workflows. How are we gonna implement that? We're probably just gonna build Cluey. Or we were actually talking about this like literally a couple hours ago. But we're probably thinking we'll build Cluey as an MCP server so that all the integrations can just sort of be like added on as like I guess like APIs that are built into Cluey. So we'd have like the Slack API. We'd have the Salesforce API, HubSpot API, or whatever other APIs that we choose to add.
okay. It wouldn't. It's not going to be like a white label. Cluely won't be a white label thing. It would still be as Cluely. Like Cluely will be the app, right? Yeah, awesome. Yeah, don't let go of the brand, man. Always push the brand. That's awesome. You're gonna get your okay. When is that gonna get up and running? Because that could be massive.
Yeah, I mean, like after every call, just automatically summarizes the call, gives you actionables, maybe like adds it to your calendar, like automatically sends emails after every call. Um, we're gonna work on this really incrementally, and we're doing a lot of customer discovery at the moment too to see if this is even like the correct direction for the product to be going. But we estimate that this will be out in the next few weeks. We our eng team is working like very very hard right now, and we're like hiring founding engineers at the moment too. But it's hard to find talent that is S tier.
So the target market for that would be what?
That would be for
Professionals?
the enterprise angle, but also it would be a really good consumer product. I mean, just imagine like after every call, maybe there's some actionables we talked about in this call. Those actionables get automatically added to your calendar. If there's any sort of follow-up emails you have to send, it would just automatically send follow-up emails. I mean, this would be like the ultimate call tool, like the ultimate AI. It would feel like you're cheating on your meetings, so to
It's
speak.
basically a life organizer, right?
Yeah,
That's what it
exactly,
sounds
exactly.
like. I think so many people are looking for that, and there are various versions of that. Are you worried that, one of the really good things that I like, I'm not a technical person, so I can't judge, your tech stack or anything. But one of the really good things was the user experience that you show. Even though it's a startup, it might be have some glitches or whatever, but it was really interesting the way that you solved the problem with interview coder. Is that it was that the way that you overlaid things, the way that you solved the interface problems were clearly as from an understanding of what the problem was and how to avoid detection, all these little details that you embedded into the solution yourself. Are you worried that one of the things is like competitors steal things that you can't protect, right? Or anything that you expose to them, they just steal and then embed that same experience within their products. Are you worried about that at all?
Not really. I mean, ultimately, the reason InterviewCoder worked is because we distributed it better than everybody. And I think the reason this is going to work is because we will distribute it better than everybody. I think most moats, or like most reasons why companies were defensible 5 years ago, are no longer reasons why they will be defensible. There's no such thing as a technology mode or a research mode, or like, oh, this is like the engineering is why no other company is going to be able to catch up. Like those things are not true, because anything can be engineered now. The only remaining moats are like network moats from the user base. And if anyone's gonna like how are you gonna beat us in network modes when we already have like going on 100,000 users?
Yeah, it was really interesting to see Sam Altman speaking. I think it may have been at an Indian sort of, it might have been in India, telling them not to even bother trying. You'll never catch us. And then,
Yeah, exactly. And then fucking DeepSeek comes out like with like a team of like five Chinese quants, and they beat them immediately.
yeah, I mean, I love DeepSeek, and people have got this thing about, oh, I don't want the CCP to have my data. I'm like, I would rather the CC, let's say they do have I would
Yeah.
rather they have the data and can't do anything to harm me on this side because I live over here, right? I can understand if you're Chinese, you don't want the CCP to have your data and manipulate you and, to read your mind and everything. But what is the CCP going to do to harm me living in London? I don't understand. So, whereas OpenAI can do quite a lot, they can give all of my information to all of the intelligence agencies that can have an impact on me, right? So I'm like, I don't understand. Anyway, my point was when the first time I used DeepSeek was around about probably a couple of weeks after it launched. And I was so impressed by how direct it was with its replies in actually addressing my questions. Whereas I'd go onto ChatGPT and it would try to make me feel good. I'm like, I'm not here for therapy sessions. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
no, I don't. I'm not here for affirmations and for you to massage my ego. I want you to solve my problems, and it's completely nerfed. It's got all these guardrails. It can't tell you this. It can't tell you that. Or if it gives an answer, it has to sort of give you this 3-paragraph preamble. I'm like, just give me the answer. But I just want a tool that helps me solve my problems. And I found DeepSeek absolutely refreshing with how direct and honest it was in addressing the questions that I have. So I'm like, yeah, you're absolutely right. Anything can be engineered. And to think that you have any kind of moat as a result of like technical superiority, I mean, it would have to be very sort of we were led to believe that AI had such a lead time in everybody else catching up, and like the Chinese did it in 6 months, right? And so how can you make the assumption that you're going to have a technical advantage over your competitors anyway? But I think you're right about the distribution. Um, one of the things that I've been trying to do with my own sort of much simpler business, this is a media business. It's very different. Like I use basically things that are off the shelf, but I'm starting to do some vibe coding, right? And so vibe coding for someone like me who's really rich with concepts and ideas, and I guess on the product development side of things, like I have a strong empathy with users and their experiences. Vibe coding to me has just been a massive breakthrough because all the sort of little tools that I needed for my business that it was not worth another business developing sort of a proposition around. I can just go into Replit, spend literally 2 days really nutting it out. Like I go into quite a lot of detail around, okay, making sure every little feature is working properly. And it's just been absolutely groundbreaking. Are you guys, I presume, you're not using Replit, but I imagine that you have incorporated AI into your coding and building practices?
Yeah. I mean, 100%. It's just so much faster. I think as long as you know what exactly the AI is outputting, then I don't actually think it harms engineering practices that much. The only danger is when you have no idea what code is being generated, and all of a sudden you're sitting in this like mess of AI generated slop. But I think I perhaps I would coin the term like vibe engineering, rather than vibe coding, where you actually know what is going on, but you are just using AI to write it because you're too lazy to write the code.
So it's kind of like an open secret / open joke that engineers would copy and paste from GitHub all day, right? Like various things, right? And there was a kind of thing like, don't say too much about it. But in reality, like why reinvent the wheel, right? But how do you approach the integration of AI into your work processes? Like when you're looking to solve a problem, how do you engage with AI and then make sure that it's actually um, on the path towards delivering exactly what you want without delivering all these hallucinations? Because one of the issues that I've had with it, without even knowing code, right, without even looking into the code base, is that hallucinations are a real thing. Sometimes it'll just make up things. Other times it will ignore things. It can be very, very creative in a destructive way sometimes, and you just got to be really right on it all the time. So how do you start that process, and how do you manage that all the way through to make sure that it's actually on track and it's delivering what you need to?
I guess this is more of an engineering question for me. But I mean, you want to be hyper specific with your prompts. Like if you just say fix this bug, then like you're gonna have to spend a lot of time just like looking through the AI generated code. But I mean, if usually it's like a hyper specific, like hey, there's like a try catch error in this, or like you need to add a try catch block to this like JOT authentication function here. Then you can kind of like see the 4 lines of code that it generates and either give it the check mark or not. I mean, generally, I think yeah, specificity with prompts sort of limits the output, and when the output is limited, then you can better understand exactly what's going on. But at this point, I'm not doing the engineering, not anymore. So that would be a better question.
You've got a co-founder. What's his name?
Neil.
And how did you two hook up?
When I first got to Columbia, I knew I wanted to start a company, so I asked every single smart-looking person that I met, "Hey, do you want to start a company with me?" And after asking about 50 of them, Neil was the only one that said yes. So
He does look like a smart guy. That's not an insult, Neil, but you do look smart. And you guys have a very interesting how can I say, chemistry. Um, you're more of a rat bag than he appears to be. He may well be just as much of a rat bag as you, but that's the impression that I get. He's a little bit more sort of free flowing.
yeah, I definitely think I'm a little crazier than Neil is, but he's like a very good grounding co-founder, and he's a very very good sounding board for any of my ideas.
So he was the only person who agreed to work with you. Why did he agree with you to work with you?
I know he didn't even agree at first. We had to go to a party, and he had to like check out that I wasn't like some weirdo before he agreed to like hack on some things with me. But I'm not sure why he agreed to work with me. He also wanted to do startups, but I think he thought I was just joking when I said like came up to him. First thing I said was, "Hey, you want to build a company with me?" I think he thought I was joking, but soon when we went to a party, like we just went to a party together, and then I just told him like I was talking to him the whole night about my aspirations, like how I wanted to build a company and how I wanted to do something generational. And I think it resonated with him, and he decided let's just start hacking on things. So yeah.
And did he start with you on Cluely or on InterviewCoder?
So
Yeah.
way back before InterviewCoder, we were working on. Okay, so sorry. Way back before InterviewCoder, we were working on like AI note takers for class. And I remember like we built this shitty Chrome extension like Columbia Note Taker, and it would like essentially like convert your lecture notes into lecture recordings into notes. We just like print out flyers and throw them on every seat in every classroom. We made like a dating app for Columbia students. Like every college student tries to make a dating app. Um, and we also worked for a while on this AI sales agent for liquor distributors. Just nothing was sticking. And then at one point, InterviewCoder was sort of like the only thing we built that went semi-viral. Like it did like a couple 100,000 impressions on LinkedIn. And I just like kept on trying to go back to InterviewCoder. So at one point, we just gave up on everything else. We said let's just double down on InterviewCoder, and then we just pushed that out.
Did you have an intuition about InterviewCoder and that motivated you to double down, or you just thought we don't really have anything else that was worthwhile or excited us to work on?
I mean, the reason we built InterviewCoder is because we knew the technology existed, but it was not being distributed well. So we built like a version of the technology that was working on our end, and we distributed it. And there was like sort of proof that it was distributed better. And I had all these vital intuitions about like all these things we could do to market InterviewCoder. Like we do the Amazon interview, we could record it. I could like do all this other shit. And yeah, like there's I was just so drawn to it as a concept. It was so inherently viral, and our whole hypothesis from the start was that we can just distribute this better.
Yeah, and you proved to be bang on the money as well. Um, have you been tempted by any big companies swirling around, looking at it like this kid's got a bit of something that we wouldn't mind in our company? Because I imagine that despite you having something to work on, that they'd come in and make some big offers. Would you be tempted
Yeah, I
to
mean
go in that direction?
at this point there's not a chance. I mean, I just like this is so much more fun doing your own thing, and it's like so much more rewarding in every way. But back then also like I was like there's no way I was gonna like transparently I had conversations with pretty high up engineers from every single FANG company, and they all offered me some sort of like, would you like to interview, or would you like to come work here? I'd love to have you on my team. But like by that point, I'd already tasted my first internet dollar, and I don't know if you can relate. Once you made like your first $1,000 on the internet, like you're just unemployable for the rest of your life. So at
Yeah.
that point, I already knew like there's just no way I'm going back.
Yeah, that's for sure. What about university? Would you ever go back and do some kind of education for the sake of your parents, make them proud?
I really don't think so. I think like there's nothing I gained in college. I was really in college to look for a co-founder and a wife, and I met my co-founder and I met my girlfriend outside of college.
So you don't need it.
I think I'm set on those fronts.
Man, that's fantastic. Really happy for you, Roy. I know we booked a bit of time, but like we've covered so much in like an hour and 15. It's been a pleasure having a chat to you and getting to know your story a little bit better in detail as well. And you're just as much of a troublemaker as I thought you'd be. And it's just so good to see you, break out of the mold, break away from the path of, convention as well, and to do something that's exciting you. You get up in the morning and you've got that fire burning inside you to go out there and put your ideas into the world and see whether or not they're valid. And that's a really exciting thing. I can't think of anything better to do in life than to pursue your own ideas. So I want to congratulate you on all the decisions that you've made and the way that you've approached the uncertainty head on and just turned them into massive wins, whereas other people, may have taken the expulsion, for example, as a bit of a whack to the head and been demoralized by that. But you're like, nah, didn't want it anyway. I'm actually going to do something that's much more aligned with who I am. So I wish you all the best. I wish more people would take your example at an earlier age as well. You've really got nothing to lose, especially if you are a developer. You can go out there and create your own ideas and test them in the marketplace yourself. And often the the comfort and the certainty that we think we're chasing in some of these larger corporations are just a quiet, longer form of death. So I just want to congratulate you on taking the more adventurous route and being true to yourself, man. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, brother. It's fun talking
Thank
to you,
you.
bro.
Cheers, man. You have a good one.
Yeah.